What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Bulls Latest. Your host, Matt Johnson, here. To kick off this Friday show, I want to recap the Bulls' victory last night over the Minnesota Timberwolves to cap off the preseason slate. The Bulls came away victorious 126-120. It was a solid performance all around for some guys who got some time. For other guys that were out due to injury, there were some good performances. So the Bulls ultimately finished the preseason 3-2. A good way to go into the regular season, just going down and looking at the box score and some notable performances for the Bulls. Modest had 19 points and 2 blocks. Josh Giddey added 14 points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds. Solid performance for him. Vooch had a double-double, 13 points and 10 rebounds. Jalen Smith got a lot of action last night. Billy Donovan said they're looking to use him this year, and he is going to be important. We'll get to that in a bit. But he added 15 points and 3 blocks. Julian Phillips back from his injury, 17 points and 6 rebounds. A very solid performance for him. That's a guy I'm going to get to in a little bit as well. Jevon Carter capped off a very solid preseason. He was 4 from 8 from 3 last night. I mean, he was lighting it up from deep pretty much all preseason long. So that's a guy, honestly, I did not expect this kind of performance from him. I really didn't expect him to be part of the Bulls' plans this year, if you guys remember back in the spring. But he's a guy who also was a very pleasant surprise this preseason. Could be an impact player for this Bulls team as a veteran with such a young team. I think Billy Donovan has shown during this preseason slate that he has a willingness to lean on Jevon Carter off the bench as a spark from beyond the arc there. On the Timberwolves side of things, Anthony Edwards added 25 points and 5 assists for Minnesota. It was a solid game. Minnesota obviously covering that -5.5 narrowly. I gave that out as the top play yesterday. So we stay hot on the gambling side of things. We'll have more of those plays coming up for you starting Wednesday with the Bulls opener. So it's been a solid run on that side of things. I kind of wanted to jump into a few guys, starting with Jevon Carter. This guy really had a solid preseason schedule. I gave little to no chance to him even being a part of things for Billy Donovan. When you look at him on this roster, looked at him on paper, it really didn't fit the mojo for what the Bulls are trying to do with a lot of young guys on this roster. I just think that, he's scoring in double figures in all 5 preseason games. That's a standout guy on this roster. I mean, double figures for a veteran guy in every game this preseason shows, and it bodes well for what he's going to bring to the table during this upcoming regular season. I think he could be a decent role player for this team. Now, he has to stay healthy. I know the injury bug has kind of hit him in previous seasons, but if he stays healthy, this guy could be something that is he packs a punch off the bench, and I think that could be something that the Bulls could utilize with such a young roster, kind of getting their feet under them in terms of lineup combinations and what it's going to look like as they roll out their core and their core lineup. So I think that you can never go wrong with another scoring option off the bench. And the way Jevon Carter looked this preseason, hoping he can carry that over to the start of the regular season, was a very solid and a promising sign for Billy Donovan and his ball club. So I just think the veteran leadership is the part that I think is huge. With such a young team, not only can he impact the game from a scoring perspective from deep as a good perimeter shooter, but he can really bring along these young guys and nurture them and help them develop. And it is a big development year. But again, there are a lot of games that are winnable and a lot of wins that are on the table for this Bulls team in the Eastern Conference that's kind of wide open. So look for him to provide that. Look for him to pack a punch. I was very surprised at how solid his preseason performance was. Pleasantly surprised to say that. I'm excited to see where his future role with the Bulls goes here. So, and then Julian Phillips, this guy, I've always been on his side in terms of wanting him to develop and become a heck of a ball player. I was ecstatic when the Bulls drafted him. And I think that if he could finally get things going, this could be a guy who could be a lot of fun to watch for the Chicago Bulls. He, obviously sat due to that ailment that he had for a couple games this preseason, but a very solid close to the preseason for him after missing those couple couple games. You notice him more often than not when he's on the floor, and that's what I love about Julian Phillips. That's a guy who turns heads, and he really is an impactful player when he's on the floor, and he is still super young, so the development element is there. I think Billy Donovan could have a field day with a player like this going forward. Looking at his numbers last night, a very solid return from injury. It's 17 points and 5 rebounds in 21 minutes of action. I think this is a guy you can plug and play pretty much anywhere. You can start him if need be. You can play him off the bench. I mean, he complements a lot of these players on this roster very well. So we'll see what happens with Julian Phillips moving forward, but a very encouraging performance to close out the preseason. Look for him to get more active and to get more minutes as we head into the regular season for the Chicago Bulls team. I'm certainly excited for what he brings to the table. So closing things out, what's next for this Bulls team? We got the regular season opener Wednesday night at home at the United Center against the Pistons. I'll give you guys, leading up to that, a look ahead to that game on Monday and Tuesday. I'll give you guys a game preview on Wednesday morning for that one, but super excited for regular season ball to be back in Chicago. I do think there is a line out already for that game. I think the Bulls are a 2.5-point underdog, so we're going to see a good ball game. Looking at the injury report and just some of the things to update you guys on, Isaac Okoro injury, definitely something worth monitoring, but the Bulls should be close to full strength heading into that contest. Kevin Huerter was back. Obviously, Julian Phillips had a good closeout game to the preseason. Coby White, still ramping up. I don't think there's anything to be worried about when it comes to his injury, but Coby is on that ramp up plan that Billy Donovan spoke to, so he'll be good to go. And then Pat Williams should also be ready to go there. He was out last night due to hamstring tightness. I don't think that's anything to worry about moving forward. All those guys should be a full go come Wednesday night. So even with Pat Williams, Coby, and Okoro missing last night, I don't think there's anything to worry about when it comes to those guys missing time. And then finally, just capping off what was a very solid night for the Bulls, Billy Donovan spoke to a guy, and I didn't give him much time in this show myself, but Jalen Smith not playing as much this preseason. Billy Donovan singled him out, saying, we're going to need him this year. I think that could be a player, if you get him going, again, it's all about flexibility with this Bulls lineup. If you can add guys to that rotation who can be impactful and who can stay on the floor and really produce on either if it's the defensive side of things or if they can pack a punch on the scoring, I think that would be huge to get more guys involved, really make this thing a win by committee thing. There is really no standout superstar in this ball club at the moment. You can make the case for Coby White being the best superstar on this team, or the most notable, I should say, coming off his best year as a Bull. So maybe he could lead the way in that department. But I think it's an exciting thing to have so many contributors for this Bulls roster and options for Billy Donovan and this coaching staff to kind of plug and play in a lot of different scenarios. So overall, though, very encouraged by what I saw from the Bulls in this preseason, capping it off with a 3-2 record, some good performances here from a lot of guys, really. So I just want them to build off of that. Looking forward to that. Let me know in the comments who you guys want to see really jump off the page this year. Who do you expect to have a big year? What are your predictions for this regular season now that we're rolling out of the conclusion of the preseason slate here? I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you think this Bulls team is capable of this coming year. So we'll cap off the show with that today. Thanks again for joining me on another episode of Bulls Latest. I'll talk to you guys Monday. We'll look ahead to Wednesday's regular season opener. Until then, everyone have a great weekend. We will see you next time.